Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. And today I'm broadcasting live to YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, and later on Instagram. In the studio today with my wife Gloria,
Hello.
and she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also the chat room. I have a little technical difficulty with the interface. They've changed the home screen on for my restreaming software. So you'll see me today on some channel, or you'll see me after the video on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and later on Twitch and Instagram. So we'll see how it goes. A little bit of practice today. Every time I come on, it's a new adventure. New adventure. So today I'm going to do a landscape painting, and I'm going to use large brushes, and I'm going to use try to simplify everything, and everything will be a little bit different. I'll try to do something different every time I come on, so it keeps my interest in going, and also to keep my viewers and you all. If this is your first time on the channel, give me a like and a thumbs up, and give me some questions and comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So let's go over to my painting table and let me get started. Okay, here's my reference photograph. Now this is the one of my favorite places I go. This is a lookout station over the waterway, where this is a meadow, and this is a fall scene. I took this photograph last weekend, so it's very recent. And I was doing a plein air sketch out there, and like every time you go on plein air, you gotta be very conscious of the lighting and so forth. Here, as I was trying to capture the nice warm glow of the sunrise. It was about 7 o'clock out there early in the morning, and the sun was up nice and bright. But then about 20 minutes later, the sun went behind a cloud, and the cloud started showing up, and you can see the foreground and everything else got a little bit duller because of the sunlight. But this, I also did a close-up here of this view here, because this is the part I really like, the one with the water here, and the trees in the background, and also the tall grass here, and the foreground. So that's kind of what I wanted to paint anyway, that section there. But I wanted you to see. I'm going to use this for coloring. I'm going to use this photograph for coloring because of the nice warm colors here on the grass and so forth. And I'm going to use this here photograph for the design of my painting. What parts I'm going to put the tree line in, the meadows, the water, and the foreground grass. And I'm going to put a little bit of sky up there with some clouds. So that's why I'm using this as more of a reference photograph, and up here I'll be using this one for a color. So when you take pictures, or when you're doing something outdoors, you're going to take several views, and you're going to pick and choose what you like. So here's my design drawing based on those photographs, and you can see I got a tree line here in the background. There'll be some clouds up here on the top, and then I got a small section of the meadow, and this is the water I've got here in the center. And I got this foreground layer of grass up here in the foreground, right here, right. So that's my design. That's my design plan right there. And again, it's just a rough sketch of where I want to go on this. You don't have to have a lot of lines and so forth to do a painting. So that's where I kind of where I start from. Okay, let me put this aside. And also, while I was out there, here's my plein air sketch. You can see here I got I got the sky, I got the background trees, I got the water, and I got the foreground grass. So that's kind of my color plan a little bit, so get me started. So that's my plein air sketch on location. Took about 25 minutes sketching with the watercolors and so forth, and that's what I came up with right there. So that's my motivation for today. So observation of the paint for painting was from the photograph and also from the on-site sketch I did. Now I'm going to be using large brushes today. These are my Silver Brush Hake. This is a medium size over here, and this is the small. Two Hake brushes, and they're natural hair, goat hair, and they hold a lot of water and a lot of paint. But I like to work with them because they're easy to use, and also it covers the paper very quickly. Now you can see here I've been working on my color scheme. I was playing around with the sky color, and then the grass, the meadow, and the water, and down here in the foreground trees. So you can see I used a lot of yellow lemon, I mixed the green and the blue together, ultramarine blue and yellow lemon to give me the green for the trees. I use ultramarine up here in the sky area, that's sky color. Then I use a little bit of burnt sienna along with that yellow lemon, and some yellow ochre in this area here, in the middle ground. Then I used more of the ultramarine blue for the water. In the foreground, I used yellow ochre and then a lot of burnt sienna down here for the taller grass. So that's kind of my color scheme right there, using the paints that I'm going to be using. I'll set that aside. Now my palette, a little bit different here, but this is my flat. I use this when I paint using the larger brushes. I want a larger palette here with just the simple colors I have. I have yellow lemon here at the bottom. I have yellow deep here, second. And then I have burnt sienna here, and I have yellow ochre here at the top. And more burnt sienna, yellow ochre. Then I have ultramarine blue here. Then I have some greens. I have green number 1 and my hooker's green over here for the trees. Now I don't know if I'll use the greens at all, because I like to mix the yellows and blues, but the green may come in handy to put a little accent here and there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sky in. I'm going to first of all wet the brush. I used the large Hake, and I'm just going to put a little bit of water up here in the sky, just a little bit, just to get a little bit of water on the paper. Okay. And then I'm going to pick up, just using the tip of the brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that ultramarine blue, the tip of the brush. And I don't want it too wet. I want it to be kind of dry, not dry either, but it's kind of medium. Now what I do is I go over here to my, sponge and kind of knock out the extra moisture. So then I'm going to come across here with the blue paint here at the top of the sky. I'm going to leave some white space there for those clouds. That's all I'm going to do. Just come across here, put that sky in real quick. The top of the sky will be a little bit darker as I come down across the trees. Okay, so that's it with the sky. Got a nice application of blue and leaving the white paper there for the clouds up there. So that takes care of the sky. I'll let that dry as I'm going along. Now next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up some. I'm going to use a small Hake brush. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of. I think I'll start a little bit here in the middle ground. I'll pick up a little bit of that yellow lemon. Pick up yellow lemon here. And I'm going to go across the center here. Right across here at the top. Gonna get a little. I'm staying away from that blue. Let the blue kind of dry a little bit more as I go in there. Okay, now I'm gonna pick up a little bit of yellow ochre on the same brush, and I'll put some yellow ochre in here. I'm gonna spread that out a little bit, but yellow ochre and yellow lemon give me a nice yellow color. Give me that golden color that was in the sunlight shining on the grass out there, that meadow grass. As I come forward, I'm going to have a little more, pick up a little more of that yellow ochre. So I'm using a small brush here just to get that, capture that shapes and so forth. And just using a small Hake. I'm going to get that in there right down to the water's edge here. Okay, now I'm going to come up here with a little more yellow ochre up here in the top. Put in with that yellow lemon to get a little golden look. These are some of those little parts of the grass there. It's sticking out into the water. Okay, now it's going to let that dry, and so far we've got the sky in, and I've got the middle ground part of the grass in the meadow, that nice yellow area there. Okay, let that dry a little bit. Then I'll go back and look at my photograph, and also just take a quick reference of my drawing. I'm okay. I like that. Okay. Now I think also I'm gonna let that dry too. I don't want to go in here too soon. So in the foreground now, I'm gonna put in some yellow ochre. But before I start, I'm gonna wet the area just slightly. Make sure my brush is clean. So I'm going to put a little bit of water down here in the foreground, just a little bit of water to wet the paper slightly. It makes the paint move a lot better when a little bit of moisture on the paper. And let me see here. Let me get this lined up so if I can see. There you go. So I'm going to continue down here now. Down in the foreground, the grass is a little bit darker, so I'm going to use more of this yellow ochre. Starting out with, okay, I'm going to do a mixture though, just like I did with the middle ground. This is kind of a background layer, so I'll pick up a little bit of that. In this case, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that yellow deep, a little bit of yellow deep on this one. I'm just using a rough brush stroke here. Get the edge of the paper clean on the edge here. Pick up some more of that yellow ochre. Get that golden grass look. Where the sun was hitting across here, there was some shadows, but I'm going to start out here with the yellow pattern here in the foreground. So now I've got the middle ground area with that, and I've got the foreground started down here. And of course, this is going to change a little bit down here as I get in a little more paint onto the brush and onto the paper. Okay. Well, I think now before I put the water in here, I think I want to go ahead and I'm going to dry this. But you know what? I can just wait for that because I'll let that dry on its own. And I got to put a tree lining up here. So let me see. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a little bit of I'm going to start out with a little bit of yellow ochre. A little bit of yellow ochre in there. Just put a little bit of yellow ochre to see how that goes. So I'm going to mix up the yellow ochre. I'm going to mix in a little bit of ultramarine blue now. And I'm still using the small hake, but I can move this into use the blue. I'll put the blue on the middle size hake. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of ultramarine blue and mix it in with that yellow ochre. Make a darker color. I'm just going to get a little base coat in here. I'm going to probably darken this up some more, but I want to get at least to get a layer in there. Just get a starting point before I go any further. This tree line was, it's irregular shapes. You got different, you got small trees out there, and they're popping up and down. These are evergreens. There are some deciduous trees out there with leaves on, which those will be turning browner as this fall goes along. We get into winter. There'll be some browner trees back there. But right now, a lot of greens. So I'm going to go ahead and put in that darker blue. Pick up a little more of the Pick up a little more of that yellow. Darken that up now. Mixing it now. I'm mixing right here on the paper. I'm putting the yellow right in with that green. Oh, excuse me. I'm putting that yellow on top of the blue to give me a green. So I'm mixing right on the paper. And right now I'm just concentrating on the edges. Give me a nice variety of edges. Make them look like trees. And down here at the bottom. Now what I'm going to do now, take that blue, pick up a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm just kind of push the brush into the paper here because I want to. This is a shadow pattern at the bottom of the trees. A little shadow at the bottom of the trees. These are small bushes and so forth along the base of the tree line here. Okay, now I'll go back. I'll use a small brush now. I'll use a small hockey, and I'm going to put in some more of that green and yellow. So I'm going to start with this yellow base first. Then pick up a little bit of that ultramarine blue. And bring that down right into that dark brown I just put on there with that brown with the burnt sienna. So now I'm mixing in that a little more darker green now. I'm making it a little darker green with more of that. I'm using a little yellow deep now. Yellow deep with that ultramarine blue. Okay. Let's check this tree line. Now you notice the tree line is irregular, no straight lines, they're all up and down, just like a tree line. And then I pick up a little more of that ultramarine blue now. I'll go back in. I want to get that nice and dark. Because I always remind myself that watercolor dries a lot lighter. So you need to compensate for that when you paint colors in. That when it dries, it's going to be much lighter. So I'm putting a much darker mix in there. I'm putting more of that blue now in with that yellow. Give me a darker green. Give me a darker value of color. Okay, it's a nice dark tree line. I like that. And I think I'll come down here now more with that at the bottom here. Be more shadow here at the bottom of the trees. Let's see. So I didn't really do a practice painting on this one. I just did my design. I played around with some color combinations of what I thought would be good. And then from there, I just went ahead and right now I'm just moving ahead with the design. So let me pick up now. I'm going to put a little more of that yellow ochre now, right up here. These are tall grasses way in the back. And they're low bushes along the edge of the tree line. I'm going to put that in. This tree line a little bit larger, a little bit higher. Okay. I don't think I'll pick up a little more of that ultramarine blue now. Get that nice dark shadow at the base of the trees next to that grass. I'm using a flat stroke here, and I'm kind of pushing the brush in and just stroking down, stroking vertical strokes up and down. Go in, press down, and I'm getting a nice dark and light pattern down here of different colors, different values. Okay. Okay. Okay, I gotta let that dry. Rinse out my brush. And the next step I'm going to do, I'm going to put in the water now. These two areas are dry, and I'll give it just a little touch of drying down. I'll put the air dryer on and just blow dry that real good. I'll make sure my brush is clean, rinsing it out over here in a rinse bucket. Okay. So I'm going to air dry. Okay. Put the hair dryer on. Okay, that's dry enough. Just to make double check. Okay, now I'm going to take the middle-sized Hake and I'm going to load it with ultramarine blue, and I'm going to paint the water. All right, so far we got the sky, the background trees, we got the background meadow, grass, we got the foreground grass. So now I'm going to put in the waterway here. And if you remember from my photograph, there's a waterway right. The water starts right here on this side, and it goes slopes down to a small area down in here. So that's going to be the water. It's going to be my water design. My water design. Now I'm going to watch this tree line up here. It's still too wet, but I want to also lift out some tree trunks when it gets down. I hope I can remember to do that. And so I want to remember that when this gets dry enough, when the shine goes away, then I can scrape in some tree trunks, and I want to remember to do that. So now I'm going to load up my brush with ultramarine blue. I'll clean up my palette here just a little bit because I mixed in yellow in there, so I want to make sure I got. Okay, load the brush. Tap out I just hit it on a sponge to take out some of the excess water. And I'm going to leave. Now in the water now, it's going to have the motion here is going to have little lights and dark areas in the water, showing a flow. And I'm going to leave some reflections here from the sky, so there'll be some white paper left out here to show reflections from the white clouds. So I'll do those also. And it's not you don't have to be. It's not. It has to be exactly the same as the sky area, but just an indication that there's a reflection in the water. The water is a flat surface, so it's going to reflect the colors around it, and that's what water does. The color of water is what it just reflects the surrounding color. It picks up the blue of the sky, it picks up some of the greens of the trees, and it'll pick up some of the yellow areas of the grass. Now I'm bringing in a little bit of darker, a little bit thicker paint now, and I'm going to get a flow pattern here in the water. Okay. So we're looking at that now. We're looking at the nice flow of water down there at the bottom. And that's pretty wet, so I'll let it dry a little bit before I put it. I'll probably put some more darker spots in there as it dries down. I'm also watching that tree line as I want to get in that factor I want. Okay, so in the foreground here, I'm going to start putting in some tall grass. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of. I'm going to use the larger brush. I'm using the middle-sized Hake. Now I want a fairly dry brush. I'm going to take all the water out of this, squeeze the water out of the brush, and pick up some dry paint. Not a lot of water, just try to narrow that down. And now I'm going to go in here and just put in some vertical strokes here. Start putting some texture down here in the foreground. Because this is we're up close now, so you're going to see more more texture here in the foreground. And I can push that brush into the palette to break up the brush hairs a little bit, and that'll give me some of those streaks I want to have. And I'm going to move the brush around. I'm going to twist it left and right, move up and down, different angles. I'm going to build up a pattern down here in the foreground of a tall grass. Okay, the tall grass. So it's just kind of another level, another layer of paint. We started with a light yellow. Now we're adding a little darker yellow on top. The yellow ochre is darker, and we'll go even darker with the burnt sienna. I'll put some burnt sienna down here. My last pass. Give me some nice tall strokes. Okay, now what I also want to do now is pick up some of that, over here on the other side, there's a little bit of tall grass along the edge of the water bank on the other side. So I'm going to pick up some more of that yellow ochre, and I'm going to put that in little vertical strokes. Flat brush, vertical strokes. Put that along the edge of the water here. It's showing a little bit of texture, a little bit of tall grass along the edge of the river, stream, the waterway. And a little bit up here, along this section, and back in here. And also back here in the middle, there's some tar grass here back in the middle. It kind of breaks up this shape back here. Don't want it to all be the same. Okay. Also, what I want to do is this white line here. I'm going to put in. We're going to put a little more yellow ochre back here. Along the edge, just right by the tree line. I'm pushing the brush into the paper. So this is fairly dry paint. It's the brush is moist, but the paint is not much water in it. And that way I get a more concentrated value back there. Okay. I'll bring up some of that grass a little bit up into that darker background so it'll show more. You'll see the edge of it popping up. Clean my brush out a little bit. I picked up some blue paint, so I'm going to go back in, cover that up a little bit more with the yellow ochre on top of the blue. Kind of lighten it up a little bit there. Use a little bit of horizontal stroke here to cover in covering that little white paper I have in the edge. Over here on the side. Okay, then I want to go back in here and put a little more brush stroke here to break that up a little bit, to make it uneven. These are tall grasses up here against the tree line, next to the tree line. Okay, let's see that. Okay, that kind of breaks that up, pattern up a little bit. Okay, now what I want to do now, I'm going to load my brush with burnt sienna. Wash out, I'm going to rinse out the brush a little bit. I rinse it out and I squeeze out the excess water. Then I'm going to load up my brush with the burnt sienna. I'm going to get the edges flat, a flat edge. I'm going to go in here now. I'm going to put in that the mud. There's a mud line here along the base of this grass. Load up my brush again. Flat brush. This is dry paint with a damp brush with dry paint. Now, dry paint means it's moist, but it's not runny. So now I'm putting in that mud bank at the bottom of this tall grass here on the bank of the waterway right here. And there's a little bit back here on this bank. And there's another section back here. Okay. All right. So that's the river. That's the bank of the waterway. There is the bank, and I'll pick up just a little touch of ultramarine blue, just a touch. Again, I'm loading the end of the brush, the edge of the brush. I'm going to put that right at the very bottom, next to the water. That's the darkest part, where it's wet, because the moisture from the water is going to dampen that mud bank there. That's all sand along there, at the base of those tall grass. And a little bit over here, not too much, just a touch to indicate that darkness where it's wet. Okay, we darken that up a little bit. Okay, so I like the sky. I'm not going to change that at all. The sky dries fine. Now let's see if I waited too long on these trees. I just let the shine go away, and let's see if I can pull out some. Now this is a there's a palette knife. It's still, see now there's what you want to do. You wait until it's still damp, but the shine has gone away. Now I can go in and put in some branches, put in some trees. So I'm scraping out the trunk lines of some of these trees. I'll get one or two over here, maybe one over here, a smaller one. And maybe get another one down here. Kind of spread them out a little bit. See, I'll show you the photograph here. This photograph here. You can see there in the background trees, there's those white trunks showing up back there, okay? Those white trunks. So I can put in some more smaller ones in here. I think I'll put in a couple small ones. So when you go to scrape out paint, you take it out. You don't do it too soon, or the paint will fall back into the groove. But you wait until the shine goes away from the wet paint, and then you go ahead and scrape it down while it's still damp. You still remove it. Okay. So that background tree is now looking pretty good with those tree trunks showing. Okay. And I don't need to use the knife anymore. Just a palette knife, or I could use any sharp instrument. Either the handle of your paintbrush sometimes works, or anything sharp. Even I'll use my fingernail sometimes. Plein air, I'll use my fingernail, scrape it out. Okay, let me take a look at what's going on here. All right, I still got to do the foreground. I like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and put in. I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna, mix it in with a little bit of yellow ochre, I'm gonna go in here now. I'm gonna try to go in and put some more darker clumps here of these tall grasses on the other side of the bank to make it look a little more realistic, okay? Because they were there. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, now I'm going to work on the foreground. I'm basically going to use that same technique here. I'm going to use the Hake brush, the middle size one. I'm going to pick up some of this yellow ochre and tap it into the burnt sienna. And what I want to do though is I want to spread the brush. So I'm going to press the brush into the palette. I'm going to spread those fibers a little bit on the brush. See how rough that is? And that's the thing about a natural hair brush or this hot. You can get a lot of texture out of that just by using the ends of the brush. So now I can go in now and load the ends of that brush now. Now I can go in now and I'm going to do some brush strokes. Made a little texture here in the foreground. I'll go in and get a little bit more. Push the brush down. Now push the brush down and separate the bristles a little bit. Okay, get a nice bristle. Then go and load the brush. A little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of burnt sienna. Now the foreground is going to be a little bit darker here in the bottom. Okay, and it gets a little bit lighter as I go up toward the water section. What I do now, I'm going to flatten the brush out now. Flatten it out. So I just move it against the edge of the palette. I'm going to load. Now I'm going to push my brush into the burnt sienna. Push it against the grain right into the paint. This is dry paint now. It's damp. I just load the edge of the brush. I form the edge by moving it against the side of the palette here. Get a nice sharp edge. Now load the brush just at the tip. All right, now I'm going to use the edge of the brush, and here I'm going to put in some vertical strokes here. And these will be those tall grasses that I'm looking for, in front of and behind and so forth. I can do a little overlapping with the water. So this is how I can get thin brush. How I can do small twigs and small branches with the end of the Hake brush just by getting the edge, just using the sharp edge. You can see how sharp that is. And just tapping that edge in. Now I'm not going to overdo this. I mean, I could put a lot of grass in here because there was a lot of grass in the photograph, but I just want to just give the indication that there's tall weeds here in the foreground. Just the impression. I think doing an impressionistic painting is much more attractive than trying to do a realistic. Realistically, it's a lot more difficult because realistically you have to really. I don't know. I don't do it realistically. I'd rather do an impressionistic. Give the feeling for what's there. So I was painting on location, so I know what this looks like, and I was there and I took pictures of it, and I did some sample. I did a sample plein air study. So I did all my homework. I know what to do here with this particular section, and then it's just a matter of going ahead and doing it. So adding more twigs out here. Some of these branches and twigs are larger than others. And now I'm going to start overlapping some because they don't just go straight up and down. They overlap. They go right and left. So I'm loading up the brush again, loading up the edge, just the edge. I move against the palette to sharpen the edge, and then go and just load up the edge of the brush. Just got the edge of the brush loaded right there. Very sharp. Okay, I'm going to go in now and overlap some of these. Get a feel for it. This place is really covered with lots of grass and tall weeds. It's a meadow. I lived on a farm, and in our back behind the farm was a meadow. So I spent many hours in the meadow, fishing, crabbing. I lived along the East Coast, and next to the salt water, so there was salt water. There was salt water stream just like this in the back of our farm, and I go back there and enjoy that location. Okay. Now, I think the build. It's I get a feeling now for the grass that's growing here. I bring it up close to you can see the tall grass in the foreground. Yeah, okay. And some of these grass is a little bit taller than others, so just I kind of emphasize that a little bit. Some are short, some are tall. A nice variety. Different angles. Thick and thin. I think what I'll do is take a little bit of just a little bit of yellow, a little bit of ultramarine blue here on my brush, along with that burnt sienna. Make it a darker brown. Adding blue to the burnt sienna gives me a darker brown. And I'm going to go down in here and make it a little bit darker here at the bottom of this painting right here. This is the shadows. Okay. Okay. I can do just a little bit more of that. Now I'm kind of using a stamping motion, just kind of stamping my brush into the paper. I got it loaded with paint, just kind of stamping it into the bottom of the paper here. Gives me more texture and also a little bit of texture, a little bit of design. And I think as far as the water goes, I like the way they watered it. I might do a couple lines in there too. Let me rinse out my brush. I'm going to change paint. I'm going to go back into the blue. So rinse out the brush. Okay. Now we do the same thing here. I'm going to pick up the ultramarine blue. I'll make sure I clean my palette a little bit because I got yellow and brown in this mixture, so be careful of that. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of that blue now, the same as I did before with the ultramarine, with the burnt sienna. Just load the brush Load the tip of it. Sharpen the edge against the palette. Sharpen the edge. Get a nice sharp edge. And then I'll go in here now and put a few lines in here. Just a few lines to define maybe some current flowing. Just a little bit. Just some lights and darks in the water. A little bit of weight, a little bit of water movement in there. A little bit of maybe wind coming across the top there, just kind of pushing the water just a little bit. Not too much. Again, one thing about being less is more. Less is but more. Less is more. That's a good rule of thumb. Is always hold back on putting any more detail than you need. Okay, let's take a look at what we have here now. Okay, I like the foreground. Just enough there. The middle ground is the water, and I've got the tall grass up against the edge of the water. I got the mud bank. I got the meadow in the background. I got those background trees. I scratched out the wood trunks, the light trunks against the dark background. That worked out real well. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think we're done. Okay, let me dry just a little bit with a blow dryer. I'm gonna blow dry this. All right, so I finished it off with the foreground with the large, tall weeds, and added a little bit of definition in the water, showing a little bit of dark and light in the water, show a little bit of water flow. Left the white paper as highlights along the edge. I left the white paper up in the sky, the clouds, so that kind of defined that. Okay, and I titled this picture the Waterway Lookout. And what this is, if I go there, I've been there several times. I've done several paintings from this location. It's a walkway back there into the woods. Goes in about a quarter of a mile. Then you come out here to this observation point, which is a tall platform that's made out of wood. The platform's made out of wood, and then from there you see this vista of the waterway. And this is a very historical site there. This is one of the areas in the Great Bridge Waterway that's very important historically. So that's let me put a frame around that. Okay. Put a frame around that. I don't need this other frame. I'll just use the blue. Okay, gonna frame that in with a dark frame. Now that really shows off. The dark frame really shows off the light colors of the sky, of the golden grass where the sunlight was coming through. And I've got those dark background trees, which kind of sets up, but really is a nice background, a backdrop for that golden sun that came through the meadow area. And then I finally had a few clouds up there later on after I had been there for a while when I was doing the original sketching and so forth. And then okay, I finished off with the foreground, and that's about it. Okay, all right. Now part of my broadcast looks like it may or may not be out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to this is going to be on YouTube, on Facebook, and LinkedIn, and you'll be able to see the rebroadcast.
Instagram and Twitch.
Yeah, and Twitch and Instagram will also be out there. But so I don't know who received my broadcast today, but I will repeat it out on those 5 channels. So let me go back to now let me take a last look at it. That's the waterway over the lookout, from the lookout. So let me go to my over main camera. Hey, here, I'm back. All right, so that was my demonstration today. Number 1, I used a minimum palette, just 4 colors. I used the yellow ochre, yellow lemon, burnt sienna, and ultramarine blue, just 4 colors. And then I used my Silver Brush Hake, the large and the medium and the small size. And you see how they cover so quickly, and even though you can get control if you be careful, you can get small lines, you can get big lines, wherever you need, and you can stamping and so forth. And then I think the nice effect I got today as far as technique was I was able to scratch out the white tree trunks in the background. But I had to wait until, I think you mentioned during the video, you'll hear me say, well, I got to wait till that dries until I can scratch out the tree trunks. I have to wait until the shine goes away. When the shine goes away, it means the paint is still damp.
We're looking at your face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. You're looking at me. I'm just describing what I did. You're looking at the this area back here was very damp when I first put it on there. You have to look at that carefully, and when the shine goes away, the paint is still damp. But when the shine goes away, it means it's dried out enough for you to scrape it out. And when you want to scrape it out, you can relift this. That's better than lifting. Lifting is when it's all dry, completely dry, you can re-wet some of the paper and lift it out with a towel or a tissue. You can lift it. That's lifting. That's after it's been completely dry. But while it's still damp, you can do some scraping out, which is what I did today. And that was a technique I think I wanted to really emphasize today, as I had to wait till I got to that point. And you got to remind yourself, keep your eye on that area, and don't let it get, because it will dry up, and then you'll forget you did it, and then you'll have to do another one, or you can re-wet it, but it's not as good as it was when the original paint, when it's damp, it works the best. So I'll be back again next week at Thursday, 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight I'll be simply drawing whatever at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7:30. I hope to see some of you there also. And then on weekends anyone can draw one eye on it. This weekend's a special edition because it's November 10. And I'll get to that when I do it. So you'll see my broadcast where anyone can draw with one line only on Sunday. So until then, you all stay safe. If you have questions and comments, put them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So we'll see you next week.
Give it a try and post it on your...
Yeah, well, yeah, Gloria, good point, Gloria. Give a try of some of the painting I did today. Do a landscape like I did today. Do some scraping like I tried. Try the scraping technique. And then post it on my YouTube channel, or my Facebook channel, Everett's Watercolors Art Group on Facebook, and share it with the group there. I'd be glad to see it. So until then, you all stay safe,